Did you know that Sky has an awesome loyalty program called Sky VIP? You get to access places no one else can.
Do you want to come on in for a photo?
1, 2, 3, cheese.
Fan of movies? You can meet the A-listers.
It's all elsewhere!
And if you like sports, you can be mixing it with your heroes. You might regret that, Kate.
This year, over 1 million people can enjoy a Sky VIP experience on us. And if you can't get out right now, we'll bring the experiences to you.
We got yourselves VIP.
Okay, you get the message. Your loyalty means a lot to us. And on that note, I've got someone to meet. You must be Seema.
Oh, no! I'm lost words.
Sky VIP, your loyalty program.
Ever since the first Aston Martin was crafted back in 1913 by Lionel Martin and Robert Bamford, the name Aston Martin has been synonymous with beauty, class and adrenaline-fuelled excitement. Now, over 100 years later, we're live at their global headquarters in the aptly named street, in possibly the most expensive car park you're ever likely to see. And we want to find out just how Aston Martin stay faithful to their roots whilst making sure their future's bright. Oh, and of course, we've got 45 minutes of pure petrol head passion. Hello, good evening. I'm Natalie Pinkham and welcome to this very exciting Sky VIP event at the Aston Martin headquarters in Gaydon. Now tonight we're not just firing up the Valkyrie and having a look around this beauty, the Bond car, the DB5 Goldfinger continuation. Could be yours for a mere £3.3 million, but we're delving into where it all begins, the Aston Martin Design Studio. So top secret is it that until tonight only members of the royal family and James Bond himself have ever been granted access. I'm delighted to say, joining us on that journey, we've got Aston Martin's Chief Creative Officer, Marek Reichman. Hello, Marek. And Director of Design, Miles Nurnberger. Hello, Miles. And I'm delighted to say we're heading over to Le Mans to talk to Darren Turner, Aston Martin's test driver. Darren, how are you?
Yeah, all good. Just down here in Le Mans right now. It's the final day of preparation before the team sort of get on with it tomorrow and free practice tomorrow morning. So, yeah, everything's under control. The shutters are down. You can see the crew. They're just getting their stuff together and then heading back to the hotel to try and get one last good night's sleep before the racing really gets underway tomorrow.
You are going to need it. Just give us a quick tour. Show us a bit more of the cars, if you will.
Yeah, so right behind me, car 98, one of the Pro-Am cars. Behind that, 95, which is the car that's leading the championship at the moment. And then I'm stood right next to car 97. So that's the three Works Aston Martin cars that are entered into this year's Le Mans. And then in the garage, just the other side of the wall, is the car 90, which is the car run by TF Sport. So there's 4 Aston Martins in this race, and it's looking very good. I mean, the competition's very stiff as normal for this weekend, but so far in the championship there's been plenty of wins and some good points scored.
Fantastic stuff, Darren. We'll speak more to you a little later. And also joining us tonight from their homes in South Wales, London and down the road in Swindon are our 3 Sky VIP winners. Dorian, how are you? And tell us about your competition entry.
Hi guys, I'm well, thanks. My wife entered me into the competition because I wanted to name my youngest child Aston Martin DB9 Donnelly.
Unbelievable. Kenneth, just tell us what you're looking forward to most about this evening.
Hi Natalie, I'm looking forward to behind the scenes at the Aston Martin warehouse, just to see how things are done, the process of building amazing cars. So it's a great opportunity.
I'm with you there on that one. And Harley, what is it about Aston Martin that does it for you?
So with Aston Martin, it's their styling, the way they're hand-built, showing us all how authentic British automotive makers really produce sort of exotic and exclusive cars for everyone.
Wonderful stuff. Thank you, Harley. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll look forward to chatting more to them a little later. But also, we want you at home to get involved. So if you have pre-submitted some questions, listen out for them throughout the evening. And if you haven't, there's still time to do so. You can do that via our chat box. Remember, if you are watching on a mobile device, you'll need to download the YouTube app to join in. And of course, don't forget to share all your social posts using the hashtag SkyVIP. Okay. You're all stars as far as Sky is concerned, but there is one burning a little brighter here tonight. Look at this beauty. Wow, the Aston Martin Valkyrie. We'll be taking a good look round a bit later on. A little snoop inside. Wowzers, let me just have a quick touch. Yep. Well, I'll be doing a bit more than that later on. I'll be firing her up. Cannot wait to listen to that 6.5 litre V12 Cosworth engine. Should make a bit of a racket. All of that still to come. But first, Aston Martin has been associated with motor racing since day one. Its greatest success has come at Le Mans, the first win back in 1959.
Motor racing has always been at the very heart of Aston Martin. A passion that underpins a pioneering spirit. Nowhere is this more clearly defined than the Le Mans 24 Hours, a game of speed and endurance around the most iconic circuit of all. There is nothing else like it on Earth. 60 years ago, Aston Martin made history. It won the Le Mans 24 Hours outright for the first time. With this, the beautiful DBR1. The DBR1 encapsulated all of that passion and belief of a highly skilled and hyper-efficient collection of people within one beautifully envisioned and perfectly engineered racing car. In fifth gear and revving to 6,000 RPM, this rocket could achieve 170 miles an hour on what was then a 5.5-kilometre Mulsanne straight. In 1959, Aston Martin brought with them 3 DBR1s and a world-class lineup of drivers, including Sir Stirling Moss, Jack Fairman, Carroll Shelby, Roy Salvadori, Maurice Trintignant and Paul Frere. Having tried unsuccessfully for 10 years to claim that coveted overall victory, by 59 nothing was being left to chance. The team had devised a strategy that was as cunning as it was bold. From the start of the race, Moss baited the opposition into pushing their machinery over the limits of endurance. But his and Fairman's relentless pace broke Aston's rivals, allowing the remaining DBR1s to take advantage of a clear road ahead.
And now, only minutes remain of the 1959 Le Mans. The Aston is retired with engine failure, and Stirling's brilliant race is run.
By the end of the 24 hours, only 12 cars were still running. But leading them all was Shelby in the DBR1 he shared with Salvadori. They crossed the finish line to complete one of the most famous 1-2s in British motor racing history.
Well, let's head back over to Darren at Le Mans again. Now, Darren, there just isn't another car company to compete with the history of Aston Martin, is there?
Not really. I mean, when you think about the success the team's had here at Le Mans and around the world at lots of different circuits and different championships, it really shows what the company's about and what the history of Aston Martin's been about for all these years. And you know, it's incredible that we're here with 4 cars again at Le Mans, with a great chance of winning in the GTE category, with a really strong lineup in the driver lineup as well. So yeah, it's been fantastic for the journey, certainly for the bit that I've been involved with in the last sort of, I guess, 15 years. As Aston Martin came back to racing, just to enjoy the success and obviously enjoy driving these racing cars as well.
Now, I first remember falling in love with Aston Martin as a very young girl. It's always been an iconic car. What first drew your attention to Aston Martin? Was there a particular model that perhaps attracted you?
I think, you know, when I was a young lad watching James Bond, it was always one of those things that you sort of aspire to, and, you know, you try to be James Bond as a kid and that. But at the time, as I was moving up motor racing, Aston wasn't really in racing at that point. It was all stuff that was done in an earlier period. So there's other manufacturers that you were sort of looking at. And as they came back to racing, I think they've really stamped their sort of authority on motorsport, especially in the sports car world, exactly, you know, their intentions, you know, to be a front runner in the manufacturers and also a front runner in all the championships and races. So, you know, for me, it was a real big opportunity to be driving for Aston Martin as a British driver. It's you know, one of the most special things I could have ever been involved with. So, you know, that little bit when you get in the car, it's the smallest badge on the steering wheel, but it's really important. It's a great feeling to be driving a British marque around this circuit and any circuit, really.
Absolutely. It doesn't get much better than that. OK, you're in Le Mans. Just give us a better sense of exactly where you are. Give us a bit of a tour.
Right, so we're in the garage. If the guys can flip the camera around, I'll just give you a quick look at all the cars that we have here at the moment. If they can spin it around, or I can spin it around, one of those. And basically, we have, as I mentioned earlier, we have the GTE and the Vantage one there, which is 98, third in the championship at the moment. The car right at the back here, 95, is leading the championship with Nicky and Marco in that car itself, and 97, which is the one I'm next to here. So these are all Vantage GTEs. Two of them are running in the Pro category, and 98 is in the Pro Am Championship. So these cars have been doing this World Championship now for 3 years. They superseded the previous generation of Aston Martin Vantage, and it's a 4-litre twin-turbo V8 engine, same as what's in the actual road car. Everything else is probably a little bit different gearbox, different bodywork, and obviously all the aerodynamics on the car itself with the rear wing diffuser and carbon bodywork itself. So it's a real enjoyable car to race. Fantastic to be out on a circuit like this around Le Mans. And this year's going to be even more difficult for the drivers. With the race being later in the year, it's going to have more darkness than what we're used to before. So that's going to create some bigger issues for the drivers. And one of the things, without the spectators here, normally you have loads of ambient lighting going on with all the crowds and the campsites and everything else, but none of that's going to be here this year. So it's going to be interesting to see how the teams and drivers get through the night and make sure they come through in the morning in one piece.
That's a really good point. I hadn't even thought about it. There's so many knock-on consequences to this. What about you personally? Are you racing this year?
No, I'm not in the team this year. I'm down here for a couple of days, but I've just come back from the Nordschleife where I've been testing some of the road cars, sort of the Vantage for the next generation, and I'm back there again on Friday. So at the moment, I'm just here for a couple of days just to be a part of the team and then to sort of see how things developed. I think everyone's just a little bit concerned with what's happening with COVID. They just want to make sure that we're covered in all aspects, and that includes the drivers. So I'll just be down here. But I think, you know, all the drivers are looking too well for me. You know, if there was an opportunity, they're looking really fit and healthy at the moment, and no one's got a cough or anything. So on that side, it's looking like the team's 100% right now, and that's exactly what it needs to be. So I'll be down here for another couple of days and then heading back off to Nordschleife.
Well, I still think you've got the dream gig. Now, you have, of course, won there 3 times before. Let's just remind ourselves.
This is the greatest motor race in the world, and when you come here with an Aston Martin and you win the GT class, you can't describe the emotion.
So it's fair to say, Darren, it's a bit of a love affair for you with Le Mans, isn't it?
Yeah, I've been so lucky. I've been here now 17 times, and you know, seen those 3 wins with Aston Martin. They're the most special part of my career in terms of just pure enjoyment and just being very proud to be on the top step at Le Mans. And that win in 2017 with the Vantage, with you know, sharing the car with Johnny Adam and Daniel Serra. It was epic. You know, Johnny's last stint for the last 40 minutes, hunting down the Corvette and just taking the lead on pretty much the last lap of the race was just one of the best sort of Le Mans I've ever been involved with. And then to be part of that driver lineup and again to be on the top step at Le Mans was truly special. And you know, the thing that I guess really stands out for any driver is when you're up on that podium and you can see the sea of people in the pit lane, and then you see the Aston Martin flags. That really comes home to what this brand's all about and the heritage of the brand, and it's a real special place to be.
Okay, so you're still on standby to race at Le Mans, but your priority is, of course, the IMSA Series in the US. Just tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, I've been across to Atlanta recently. Now things are sort of getting going again with the championships and people are able to move around a little bit. So the last race a couple of weeks ago in Atlanta, it was pretty good. It's a new team to the manufacturer, so they're just getting up to speed with how things are going. Started 11th on the grid and we finished 6th, so that was a great result for the team, and hopefully we can make some more developments in the next race, which is coming up pretty soon. So yeah, that's great. I mean, racing out in America is always fun. I have a lot of great circuits out there, really challenging, and also a nice spirit within the paddock. So it's a nice place to go and race.
Fantastic. We'll be following with interest. Now tell us about the Vantage GTE. What's it like to drive?
It's lovely. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you can see behind me, it's a great car. It looks great, and it goes as well as it looks. And you know, the development process was a bit longer than we'd normally have with a car, so we were really able to get into the detail. And it keeps developing. That's the whole thing with racing programs. It's just the ongoing development of the car, and that's in every element, from tyre development to engine performance, turbos, just the way the team keep developing it. And it's got quicker and quicker. Last year the car was on pole position. Marco did a great job in qualifying and put the car on pole position. The race didn't go to plan after that, but it showed the performance of what the car has. And this year it's all about making sure that we're in a good position all the way through the race. And I think with the driver lineups that the cars have all got, there's a great chance that there's at least a podium this year, but they should be in with a fight for the overall win as well.
Now, talking of driver lineups, big news in Formula One is Sebastian Vettel, four-time world champion, is joining the team. Just tell us why you think this is a good fit for both him and the team.
I think I've been a big fan of Sebastian for many years, and his career's been fantastic and everything that he's achieved. And it's just a little bit sad to watch, when you're watching F1 at the moment, and how they're struggling and where he is at the moment. So I think it's going to be a new challenge for him, and hopefully the package between Sebastian joining the team and Aston Martin Racing next year in Formula One, I think it's got all the right ingredients to be really successful from the word go. So hopefully that sort of gets his spirit up and gets him back into the sort of front-running car, and hopefully that gives him an opportunity to score some big points and some podiums, which would be great. And who knows, maybe some wins. But Mercedes is always going to be a very difficult Formula One team to beat, so I'm sure everyone over the winter is going to have to work extra hard at Aston Martin Racing.
It's kind of ironic, isn't it, that he's released by Ferrari and could well come to a more competitive car next year. So we'll have to wait and see, and we'll do so with interest. Now, we've had loads of questions from Sky VIPs for you, Darren. This one is from Rachel Squire. What is your favourite racetrack and car to drive?
Oh, right. So my favourite racetrack is the Nordschleife. Just it's one of the most challenging circuits in the world. It's a place that I think every driver will walk away a little bit intimidated from, but once you get sort of to grips with the length of the circuit and just remembering all the corners, it's a real joy to drive. And then Le Mans is another iconic circuit. The difference is with Le Mans, it's the circuit itself is great to drive, but it's the pressure over this race weekend. Because it's the biggest race of the year, it sometimes becomes a little bit too overwhelming. But as a driving experience, it's fantastic. You get down the end of the Mulsanne into Mulsanne corner, and then the best part of the circuit is heading down towards Indianapolis as you sort of head back towards the pits. But there's also so many great circuits. I love the circuits in America, like Sebring itself. So I'd say those are my top three circuits: Nordschleife, Le Mans, and Sebring.
Yeah, I'm not sure you're allowed 3, but we'll let you off that one. OK, let's get back to Harley, our Sky VIP winner over in Swindon. Harley, what's your question for Darren?
All right there, Darren. Out of all the cars that have ever been produced, if you could only pick one to forever race and one to forever drive for public road use, what would those cars be and why?
I think for racing side, it'd be the DBR9. It to me is always going to be the most special car. I had so many years of racing that car here at Le Mans and also around the world in different championships. And to be part of that initial sort of development phase and, the first win in 2007 with the car and then back again in 2008, both of those were, for me, like one of the best experiences I've ever had. So that is the car I'd say out of my whole racing career that I would love to own if I could ever get the money together to buy one of those. But just the chance to drive one of those cars again would be fantastic, and it's a real joy. The current cars are equally fantastic to drive and really challenging, but I think it was just that period of my career that coming to Le Mans at that stage and then getting the success, it just means that car's got a special place in my heart for being behind the steering wheel. And then on the road, I guess at the moment I'd say the 177 is the Aston Martin that I absolutely love. I saw one yesterday when I was up at Nordschleife. There's one at the test facility that we have up there at the moment. So it's one of those cars you don't see very often, and so whenever I do see it, it's one of those cars I wish I could get the keys for and take for a quick spin. So there'll be the two cars, one for the road and one for the racetrack.
Great stuff. Well, thank you, Harley, for your question. Thank you, Darren. Stay with us because we'll be hearing more from you very soon. OK, now we know that racing is integral to Aston Martin's design philosophy. So whichever road car you buy, you'll have a little bit of that racing technology in the mix. But where is each Aston Martin originally created? Well, it's right here within the incredibly secretive design facility. And tonight, we are very lucky indeed to be granted a sneak peek. And I'm joined by Marek Reichman. Hello, Marek. Now, listen,
hello. We
have to maintain social distancing.
We do, absolutely.
Even though I want to come and give you a big hug because look at these creations. I mean, they're astonishing. You should be incredibly proud. And we are very lucky indeed to be here with you tonight. I just want you to talk us through the design process, if you will.
Yeah, I think there's a common misconception sometimes that cars are designed and created on computer. Of course, we use computers and technology to expedite the process, but it starts with a sketch. The sketch comes from what we call a design brief. It's a direction. It's a series of words. The words define something. It's the designer's brain that takes those words and creates the car, creates the desire, creates the passion. And it all starts with hand and eye, effectively. So these are sketches. Those sketches become slightly more real. As you see here, they're very loose, but they're describing V12 Speedster. They become much more defined as a surface language. Then we start to look at proportion. And from there, we move from 2 dimensions into 3 dimensions.
OK, this is the 3-dimensional one that you speak of.
Yeah, so this is a 40% scale model. And this is very, very fast. So if you imagine we would maybe spend 4 or 5 weeks defining the sketches, picking the 1 or the 2, the 3, and then making 2 or 3 scale models. And we use 40%, 1 to 2.5, because your brain can assimilate the actual size. It's called the golden ratio, the golden proportion.
Why is that?
Well, it's just mathematics, the mathematics of what you see and how your brain can realize this in full size.
I can imagine myself in this car now.
Exactly,
just so you know.
And you're much bigger than the car. So,
yeah.
This then you can translate directly up to full size.
Okay.
And it gives you a very, very fast, quick interpretation of the 2-dimensional sketch.
Okay.
So within, let's call it now a 3-month period, we can go through 4, 5, 6 themes, pick the theme and choose 2 themes to take up to full size.
Okay, before we go to full size, I want to give you another question from one of our Sky VIPs. It's Jane Smith, and she'd like to know, what is the typical design timeline from concept through to launch?
Yeah, it really depends on the car. A great story. In this studio, we designed the DB10, which went in the Spectre movie. Now that from sketch to reality was 6 months. From just a sketch to 10 driving cars that appeared in the movie was only a 6-month period. And those cars were capable of driving at 200 miles an hour. All the stunts that you saw were real. Those cars were real cars. And they started as a sketch.
Is that because you were under pressure from the film studios to get it done in that
Well,
time?
actually, Daniel, Sam Mendes, Barbara Broccoli and Michael Wilson came in the studio. We showed them DB11. And as they were walking out, they saw a sketch of what was New Vantage. and said, well, what's that? And I said, well, that's the killer, it's a hunter, it's a car that has more about the individual character. And they said, oh, we want that one. I looked at the team and they said, yeah, we can do it. So 6 months. And then a production car, a true production car, DBX, would take about 4.5 years.
Wonderful. Let's go to the next stage then. Talk me through this. This is a full-size model, but in clay.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the thinking behind that?
Yeah, the reason we use clay is it's very pliable, so we can change the surface very quickly. It's reusable, renewable, and infinitely you can go through many, many different iterative loops to look at the forms and the shapes. You can change its proportion, its height, its length, and its surface language. And Andre here can show you exactly how easy it is. So what you do is you put a piece of tape on. So if I want to correct this surface, we wouldn't want to do that, but
I'll give it a go.
So what are you going to do, Andre? Talk us through it.
So we use these called slicks, and basically you get the curve of the surface you want and you drag it through. And if you go in all directions, you should have a correct surface, theoretically, if I do it right. So we normally work up to the tapes as a guide because it means we get the arcs just right.
Yeah. Wonderful. Now I'm going to ask you to multitask while you're doing this. Tell us about your story.
Okay. I actually heard about this job role a few months before I was supposed to go off to uni to do architecture, and I loved it so much that I just dropped it all and came for this and started my apprenticeship when I was 17.
That's amazing.
And
what are you going to do with all this clay?
We tend to recycle it if it's not too full of rubbish.
I mean, it kind of looks edible. It's almost like chocolate,
yeah,
isn't it?
it's reusable. So again, here we can change the line, put the line back. Obviously, that's not a line we'd put onto this surface, but just to define how we change and how we move things. And all the sculptors, they're artisans.
Yeah,
effectively,
absolutely.
This currently is a one-off product.
Andre,
until
what a
we
skill.
laser scan.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, Stuart Richards actually asked the same question. What happens to the clay models after they go into production? I mean, I know you said that they get reused, but does anyone ever want to buy them?
Yes, sometimes if it's a very, very special car, we may have collectors who want to buy the actual clay model that created the car. So imagine if you had, as Darren mentioned, a 177 and you had the original clay model, then you have something which has great provenance. But typically, we strip off all the clay and we reuse it and reuse the chassis underneath.
How wonderful. Okay, next stage.
So next stage, if we wander down here, after the full size,
yes,
then we would laser scan effectively.
Right.
So we would take the one-off creative piece of sculpture that has been handmade, hand-produced, laser scan it, create a surface. That surface is then machined and we make parts and we create a finished model. So the sketch you saw earlier, the scale model, which then became a full-size clay, that was scanned, and then we create a hard model, and this is V12 Speedster.
Wow.
In the hard model. This is a car we will start producing next year in 2021.
That is incredible. How much pride do you get when you see it go from a sketch like that to a living, breathing vehicle like this?
Yeah, I think that, it's the love of the job. That is the most special part of it, because actually you're starting with just words, you're starting with inspiration, you're starting with desire, and from that desire you create a car that, the object of the job is for people to go, wow, I love it, I want one.
Amazing. Your passion is palpable. Okay, we've got another question from a Sky VIP. Sarah Gledhill, thank you for submitting it. How do you decide the names of the cars?
Well, it's never a committee. Typically, I would be involved with some of the naming process, or maybe it's the CEO or someone who sits at the senior level. But we also look at historical data and historical facts. So we use a lot of V names. We have Valkyrie, obviously.
Why is that?
We typically, throughout our history, have used V as part of the language of Aston Martin. So the Volante, the Vantage, the Vanquish, and here we have a concept for Vanquish. So this was shown as one of our mid-engine concepts for the future, named Vanquish.
I mean, it's beautiful, isn't it? Look, we're so privileged to be in this amazing space, and I can see that you've moved a few things so that we can't see them quite under the wraps over there.
Yeah.
But just tell us a bit about any future projects, maybe give us a bit of insight.
Yeah, I'll give you a little bit of a sneak. So on the mill over here, you can see DBX.
The giant chocolate DBX.
That's right. So here's a DBX just launched, literally getting out into the dealerships now, and we're looking at future derivatives of that DBX. So it starts in the very same process. Even though we have a current car already, we go through the same creative process to get there. And there is something over there that I can't show you.
Oh, come on.
I'm sorry, I can't show you.
I mean, just a little peek.
Not even a little peek.
Oh, you tease. I can't believe it. Okay, well, listen, thank you so much for your time and thank you for the access, because it is quite incredible. We do feel very lucky indeed. And if you've still got a question for Marek Miles or indeed Darren over in Le Mans, you can still submit it via our chat box. And if you're enjoying tonight, please share your experience and your thoughts on social media and include the hashtag SkyVIP. Now, we've obviously just taken a look around this design studio, which is absolutely incredible. So secret, as I mentioned earlier, that only 007 and the royal family have ever had access here before until tonight, until you guys are here with us. There is one area of Gaydon, though, that does actively encourage access, and we sent our Sky crew on a little journey as an Aston Martin customer may experience. From the moment you arrive at Aston Martin's global headquarters, you know you're somewhere special. And as a visiting customer, the excitement can only build. Whilst a state-of-the-art facility, you are reminded of the company's 107-year history as you walk through the affectionately known street. But it's when you get to the production floor that things get really fun. The bonded aluminium bodies have been constructed and have visited the paint shop. Now the team hand-build each and every sports car over 200 hours of people power, from the electrical harnesses to glass, before marrying up the engine and powertrain to the chassis, whilst another team creates the interiors. If you're watching your own car being built, your dream is about to become a reality. Of course, the final detail is the iconic badge. And now your Aston Martin is ready to be delivered to its new home. So Marek's still with us and Miles has joined us now too. Welcome and thank you for your time. You really do encourage people to come here, just not this bit maybe.
Yeah, we keep this bit a little bit secret, don't we?
Hey, it's great though, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, if you think about it, this is where the future of the business starts. This is where the process starts.
Absolutely. Now, for any would-be automotive designers out there, just tell us a bit about your story, if you will, Miles.
Yeah, I mean, I drew cars from very, very young, from 8 years old. I used to get told off by my teachers. I used to draw quicker from the back of my exercise books and I did my work from the front. I had to pay for them in the end. But it was only until about 12, 13 years old, went to the Royal College of Art in London. This is in fact where you went and studied. I saw these scale models, a bit like the ones we've just seen, and thought, oh my God, you can do this as a job. And then from then on, I was a pain to my teachers because I just wanted to do cars, that was it.
But how wonderful for you both to know that you can turn your passion into a career.
Yeah, absolutely. It is, and I guess every day you wake up and pinch yourself because you get to do something that you have such a love for, and I think that has to come across in the work as well. You know, this is something where you've got to emit the passion that you feel into the product. And to do that every single day, it's a great feeling. It's also very tough. It's a hard job in terms of you're very self-critical about how you want to improve the next car, the next project.
Would you agree with that you are your own harshest critic?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's long hours doing the job. You push yourself. You want it as a designer. You want to be progressive. So you're constantly searching back on what you've done and pushing further on it.
Okay, so what have you done? Just talk us through some of the projects here at Aston Martin.
I've been here a while now. So started with 177 back in a long time ago now, 12 years ago now. Yeah. And then Vulcan, DB11 and recently Valkyrie.
Amazing CV. Very impressive. Okay, we've got a question from Kent Packham. Thank you, Kent, for your question. It is for both of you. How do the designers and engineers work together? Because you would think two very different types of people coming into the same space.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, first of all, it's a team. You can't design a car on your own. You can make a beautiful piece of sculpture on your own, but the car has to perform. It has to move, and therefore you need to work within a team. But as a designer, you need to have a strong viewpoint of what you want, because dilution by millimeter will create something which isn't perfection, and we're always seeking to have that perfection. So those challenges, those relationships are really, really important, and you really have to understand what you want and why you want something.
So collaboration, but without compromise.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have a bit of friction in it. You do. It pushes you along.
Really?
You interpret things in different. Yeah, you have to have the friction.
Creative tension is very important.
Well, does that bubble over to arguments?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Does it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Wow, we need secret cameras in here, don't we? Okay, so we've got a question over in South Wales from Dorian. Dorian, what is your question? I believe it's for Marek.
When it comes to releasing a new car, who and how do you decide what engine it has?
Well, it really, that starts from the very beginning of the process. As I defined the sketch, at the same time, concurrently, there will be a team of people defining where the company, the product needs to go in terms of its product cycle, its powertrain, and its longevity, therefore. So it's a group of people that would start the concept process, define powertrain, people package, and then we get into the product.
Very cool. Okay, Miles, this is a question from another Sky VIP, Martin Wills. And the question is, when you begin a brand new design concept, what is the one word at the forefront of your mind? I love this question.
Yeah, strange answer, fear.
Fear?
We touched on it. Yeah, actually, because you have this incredible history that you have to respect, but you've got to move it on. And you've got to sort of switch your brain off, get back to naivety, get that creativity out of you. And actually, it's sometimes it's a little bit, isn't it? It's fear. You have to be. You're as good as your next car.
Yeah.
You can't, rest on your laurels.
And it's about you. So it's the internal fear you have of creating something that you're inspired by as well.
God.
So when you take the cover off, we're customers as well. We have to look and say, wow. And we want our consumer, our customer, our clients to say, wow, as well. So the fear factor is you've got to get that right.
And is it true that you do leave the covers on overnight, so when you come back in the morning, you even get that little kick of adrenaline and buzz from seeing the cars?
Absolutely. Keep them covered, get the team to cover everything up, have a look in the morning. Then it's fresh eyes, and you can see where you left off and what your first reaction is to the car.
Wow. Love that. We should do that at Sky as well. I'm sure some people already are. Right, Marek, question from Joe Deans. What influences your design of a car and keeps that creativity that you've talked about already fresh? I guess that's part of the pressure, isn't it?
It is, yeah. The freshness is, and the pressure is your own desire. But I think as a designer, you have to look and see and be inspired by everything. You've got to look at the products you've worked on, what's coming next. You're almost predicting trends. Because if you consider something like DBX as a for instance, we started that process 4.5 years ago. So you've got to start with something that will be successful in 4.5 years into the future. So you've got to push boundaries, you've got to push against what you believe is possible and create something that keeps you inspired. And so the inspiration is make sure you're inspired by what you actually do.
That's incredible. So you're predicting trends, but you're also trailblazing.
Yeah, I mean, it is difficult, that bit, to keep that concentration. Also, I mean, you've seen the process. We do clay models. They're actually quite weird. At the end of the day, you have this transparent, shiny object that moves. And actually, we stare at brown lumps of clay for 2 years. So there's all those other bits in there that you've got to take into account while you've got that. And we set it out, don't we? We set out a strong vision early doors to get that.
And not deviating from the vision is so important. So
Absolutely.
You set the vision, stay on track with the vision, and keep yourself inspired and keep, therefore, the product inspired. And you're always pushing, always moving, always seeing something until you can't. And then there's always a millimeter you wish you could change.
I think that clay feels quite therapeutic to work with clay. Okay, it's still time to get your questions in. Do so by using our chat box. But now, gentlemen, it's time to talk 007. Here it is. Oh! I am right in the line of fire here. I really feel that this car is looking at me right now. This is a partnership that has just run and run, isn't it, Marek?
Yeah, it started with Goldfinger in '64, and James Bond has had an Aston Martin in the garage, on the road, ever since. And it's, you know, it's a love affair that we have together, and the car suits the character. You know, he's a British agent, currently he is a British agent, and he's getting the best for his job. You know, he has an Aston Martin. Now the crowd expects it. They expect to see the car unveiled, and you know, there is your Aston Martin.
Well, it wouldn't be James Bond without it. And it's something about being quintessentially British, isn't it? To have the two combined. Now, I thought that the DB5 was a one-off, but am I right in thinking that if I did win the lottery, I could actually walk away with one?
Yes, in fact, we're making 25 of them, and there are a few left, I believe, as well.
Oh, I'll take two. Thanks very much. Do it some sort of mates race?
Probably not.
No, I didn't think so.
James.
Didn't think so. Daniel Craig, tell me he drives an Aston Martin.
Of course.
Excellent, good. And what about the new Valkyrie? We're going to be looking at that in more detail very soon. Any celebrities put their name down for one yet?
Well, we can't talk too much about that, but I can tell you that there are some current Formula One drivers, some prior Formula One drivers, some world champions in that group as well. So it's a pretty select group, 150 cars, well oversubscribed. They're all sold out, and we're actually going through most of the speccing processes now. So lots of celebrities in the driving world, because it's really a great driver's car.
It really is. Well, I think it's time to dust off that Valkyrie and have a look at her out on track. Isn't she gorgeous? Okay, right, now I'm still moving. Woohoo! I'm going to try and open these beautiful gull wings. Now, I think I'm right in thinking there's a little tap down here. I have to say, this is one of my favourite features of the car.
Yeah, it's quite special. It's quite special to get in and out of it as well.
Right, okay, well, I'm going to try and do that by keeping some dignity intact. Let's see if we can manage it. Now, I was given some tips earlier, so I think bum goes on here, foot in there, leg goes straight, and okay, we're in.
Great.
Excellent. It's surprisingly comfortable.
It is, yeah. Well, I'm 6'4", and I was actually driving this car last week, so it fits someone of my stature as well.
You measured it especially, didn't
Absolutely.
you? Now, am I right in thinking that all of them aren't sold yet? You mentioned earlier. How many have you made that have sold, and how many?
No, 150 will be made.
Yes.
And they're all
allocated.
all sold. They're all allocated and all sold.
And is there a waiting list?
There is a waiting list. Yeah, I think we were 4 times oversubscribed, so there's a waiting list of people waiting to get the car.
And what happens to those? Will they have any chance of actually getting one?
Probably not.
Really?
No.
Wow, okay. So just tell me a bit, before I fire it up, about the differences with this. I mean, this is obviously the fastest road car, isn't it? Around, what, 250 miles an hour?
Around
top
that,
speed?
yeah.
And what are the key differences that allows this to be able to be driven on the road?
Well, it's a road legal car, so it's gone through all the compliance that a normal road car would have to go through. But it's developed and designed around a Formula One type package with Formula One aerodynamics, Formula One materials, but it's road legal. So it carries a number plate at the front, a number plate at the rear, a number plate that sits close to 1,000 degrees C from the exhaust as well. It has so many special features in it, but it's a road registered, road legal car.
I'm just imagining going and picking the kids up with this at school. I mean, they'd love that, wouldn't they?
They would.
Be a bit of a squeeze. Okay, let's see then. Let's try and fire this up. So, oh my goodness. They did advise me not to wear heels today. Didn't take any notice, did I? Okay, right, let's go. And just shuts down, just like that?
It certainly does, and it gives you goosebumps. So every time I hear it fire up, it gives me goosebumps.
Took my breath away.
Yeah, and that's the passion of the job.
Oh my goodness, well I'd like to say I would drive her home, but quite frankly I would be terrified. Okay, we've got a question from Kenneth in London. Kenneth, your question please.
Thanks, Natalie. With regards to performance, technology, design, and a proposed $2 million price tag, how would you position the Valkyrie against other hypercars like the McLaren P1, La Ferrari, and the Porsche 918?
I think it simply sits at the pinnacle, really. It really is a car developed in conjunction with the Formula One team. It's developed with aerodynamics that are capable of pushing the car around a track at incredible speeds. It has 1-to-1 power to weight ratio, well over 1100 brake horsepower. So you can imagine it's just over 1100 kilos as well, and 1800 kilos of downforce. So really in terms of where do we position it, it simply sits right at the top of any triangle.
Absolutely astonishing, and I know it was such a passion project for Adrian Newey.
Yeah,
he put his heart and soul into it, didn't he? Okay, we've got loads more questions for you guys, and of course Darren out in Le Mans. Are you still with us, Darren?
I am. Yeah, can you still hear me? I'm still here.
We can. Now this one is from another Sky VIP, Ryan Hill. He wants to know, what's your favourite model ever produced by Aston Martin? My goodness, this is a hard decision.
Favourite model, I guess, is, like I said earlier, is the 177 in terms of road car. But I have got like a soft spot for a DB2. Lucky enough to have raced at the Goodwood Revival many times, and a few years ago I got to race a DB2 there in one of the races on the Friday. So it's not the fastest car in the world, but it was the one with the most sort of character. So yeah, if I could probably get a lottery win like you mentioned, it'd be one of the cars I'd be going out to get hold of.
You would agree?
I would. I'd go DB24, but I think I'd also pick a DBR1. So if I could have a car to drive every single day, I would pick a DBR1. But then I'd have to have one of these in my garage as well, unfortunately.
You must do. Come on. Miles?
I'd go for this, I have to say. I mean, great history, but special car.
Okay, I've got a question from Ben Locke now, and he asks, can we expect to see Aston Martin embracing any of the renewable power sources in its cars in the near future? I mean, you've got to, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely, we have to, and it's part of the process of developing cars out into the future. If you like, this has a hybrid system in it as well. It has a curve system. Yeah. So we're starting to develop those battery systems and hybrid systems now.
Okay, question for you, Miles. Cowan Botha wants to know, would Aston Martin consider bringing back some classic designs with modern technology and perhaps a retro interior?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we've got a phrase, haven't we? We allow ourselves to be romantic but not retro. We recently did a one-off car for a customer that was shown recently, which was inspired by 70s, 80s Vantages. But the car has an ultra-modern proportion, carbon fibre tub, a very powerful naturally aspirated engine in it, so we can do it, but we always keep an eye on the future to doing it.
Okay, Rob Hounslow wants to know, does Aston Martin's history and heritage have an influence in the design of a new vehicle? You've kind of touched on it there. Yeah,
it has. We have a wonderful heritage, 107 years, and in 107 years we've only made circa 100,000 cars. So each
it's really not much, is it? When you think about the amount that Mercedes churn out.
It's about 2 days for Toyota.
Wow.
You know, if you consider it that way. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's a great stat.
Yeah.
I love that.
And therefore, you have to have part of that into the future and have a nod for that great history. But as designers, we're always thinking about the future and working with our engineering colleagues about pushing the boundaries out into the future.
And it's the weight of that legacy that you've talked about already. Right, Dave Brand wants to know, if you could pick just one thing that really makes and defines Aston Martin, what would it be? You can't say fear this time.
No, I can't. I mean, the grille. It's our icon.
Yeah.
For me, it's an amazing dynamic language. You know, it has perfect proportion and dynamism.
Beautiful. OK, so we've got a chat box question that's come in from Robin. Do you use virtual augmented reality in the design process? We've seen quite a traditional method with the clay. Any other sort of more modern?
We have a room we didn't take you into where we put on us. Yeah, absolutely.
Hang on a minute. I thought this was access all areas.
Well, we didn't show you that room. So you can put on a set of VR goggles and actually be sitting in a car or looking at the car outside in our courtyard as well.
Very cool. Karenka asks, what items and designers outside the automotive world do you admire? To both of you.
I think for me, architecture, the world of theatre. I mean, I'm a huge fan of set design because I think you're creating an impression, and our job is very much about creating desire.
And what about you? You obviously must not plagiarise, but take inspiration from, perhaps.
Yeah, world of furniture design, definitely. World of fashion, even. If you think about our interiors and the materials we use, there is a very close correlation there. So.
OK, so we've got another question from Denise Daly. From birth until present day, the greatest Aston Martin ever built, and why? It's a similar theme that we've been talking about before.
Yeah, if I have to pick one, I'm going to say DBR1.
OK, well done, Denise. I mean, I think they agree that the oldest Aston Martin in the showroom, well, that was from 1913 that we showed at the beginning, right? Yep. So thank you for that, Tom. Oh, Giancarlo, why are most of the cars named with DB? What's the origin?
So David Brown owned the company, and that's where the DB comes from.
Well, that is interesting. You kept the little gems coming right until the end. Guys, thank you so much for your time. I really wish tonight could run and run. We could do this till midnight, couldn't we?
Absolutely.
You probably wouldn't want to. You need to go home. You've got a lot of work in the morning, I know. Well, huge thanks then to Marek, Miles and Darren. Huge round of applause, everybody. Wonderful stuff. And a massive thanks to our Sky VIPs, Kenneth, Dorian and Harley. Big clap for them. Come on, keep the applause coming. It was great to have your company tonight. We've had thousands of you out there watching from home. We couldn't do this without you, so thank you so much for your company. And of course, thank you to Aston Martin. It's been quite incredible. Really honoured to have been here. Thank you for letting us go around. Keep the hashtag SkyVIP coming with all your social media posts, and I will see you at the Russian Grand Prix next weekend. Bye for now.